Right, so here we are then. 'Tis the morning after. This huge piece of olive ash mounted on the lathe. It's mounted on face plates attached to Evolution chuck to give me the gap between the piece and the bed that the lathe is sat on. I've got a bit of an overhang there, so I need to push it out a little bit. It's 42-inch about diameter, and it's just shy of 1.5 inches thick. Now, before we start turning, we need to realise that this has got a lot of rot in it. Although I've used every single screw hole in that faceplate in the jaws of that Evolution chuck, I am a bit concerned about the rot, especially here in the centre. So I don't know if this is going to work or not, to be quite honest. It may well just jump straight off the lathe, rip out the screws, and we'll have to look at doing something else. Hopefully, though, it'll stay. Because of that rot, there's been some movement in this piece since it was cut. And you've got to expect it, really, as it's drying out. And there is slight movement. Now, because it's just shy of 1.5 inches thick, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get a platter out of this. I'm not sure. It will depend how much has got to come off either side, either face, to true it up. It could be that this is going to turn into a battle shield, and I won't know any of that until I start turning. So I'm going to finish supping me coffee, put me turning smock on, and then we're going to crack on. I hope you enjoy the video. So the first order of business then is to true this edge up. So I got a feeling this is going to be fun. Right, I'm going to start swinging and then press the start button and stand back, keep well clear, just in case this just goes on the first instance. And we're away. Right, I'm going to stop it there. This is real time. And you're hearing those thuds where I'm hitting dense wood. There's obviously a lot of rot on the edge of this. So what my concern is those dense thuds are going to cause those screws to rip out of that rot that's in the center. So just remember when you're turning something this size, those studs they can do a lot of damage. They can really rip this straight out of the hole the laver's got on it. So just come off the cut a little bit, lower. I mean, I'm holding my chisel in my left hand with my right hand at the top here. So to come off the cut, I mean to lower my left hand so that I lift off, so I'm not cutting as deep. Obviously, the chisel will go into the rot a lot easier than what it will the hard, good wood. So if I've got that angle slightly wrong when I go in initially and then hit those thuds, hit that hard wood, I've got to come off a bit, otherwise I am going to rip it off the lathe. So it doesn't really matter that you're coming off the level cut on this initial few cuts. I mean, you can see from here, that's not too bad, but it is thudding, and I have got to be careful that I don't rip it off. So I've just lifted the cut off slightly, and I can work that down over the next few times that I go in. I'll gradually get it level because I'll come in at different angles to create a smooth, flat cut. I hope I've described that well. I probably haven't. I'm probably waffling now, for which I apologise. But look, you can see there's rot all over the place here. So, but it'll go all right. I just got to be a bit careful. I'm just going to move something that I can see is going to touch. There we go. The back of the piece. Right, so there is a little bit of play there. Right, onwards and upwards. Okay, so I've moved the camera and my tool rest. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go and try and true up this leading edge. I'm going to come from the center towards the outer edge just to true this area up as best I can before moving to the front. Again, because of the hold of the faceplate in rot, I may well be about to push this wood off of the chuck. So I really don't want this video to be full of negativity, but I'm just trying to think of safety and everything that goes on with turning a big piece like this. you have got to be careful. I have a good feeling that this is going to be a battle shield rather than a platter. There is a lot of movement. So all we can do is go for it. If I turn it by hand, hopefully you can see where my finger is. The movement comes closer and then further away again. So there is quite a considerable bit of movement in this wood. So we'll give it a go, see what happens. Right, so I've got the phone in my hand now. I've taken it out the stand just because I want to show you a problem that I've come across. So this big crack here, look. So hopefully you can see this. I'm going to put my thumb and that over there. Can you see the movement? And that is a huge piece. There's a bit of movement there, look, in that rot. Now I don't think that's going to snap, but that is going to cause me all sorts of problems trying to turn this. All sorts of problems. As you can see at the top there, look, I haven't touched it with the chisel, and then the chisel comes on there and it is ripping like mad. And I think that's because of this movement. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a load of contact spray adhesive in a spray can, and I am going to fill this void with that contact adhesive and let that set before I continue, so that that wing, if you like, becomes more firm and solid. And then I'll deal with the glue after I finish turning it. So that's what I'm going to do now. Right, so as you can see, contact spray adhesive it's not pretty, but when that goes off, hopefully that will be more secure and it enable me to turn it. I'm just going to get the can so you can see the can. I've had this in the workshop for ages. It's trim fix adhesive. I can't remember where I bought it from, but it's quite good. It's directional, look, so got like a can of spray, and that will run down inside that crack, and hopefully make it a little bit more secure to turn. Right, there you go, trick of the trade. Contact spray adhesive, magic. Right, off for a coffee while that sets. So I've turned away the back and I've got it quite true. It does look like a ploughed field at the moment, I'll admit that to you, but I'm a bit worried that if I take too much more out the back, the front just isn't going to be stable enough for me to turn on, and there is a huge amount to come off the front. You can see the thickness here is relatively thin. I'm not sure if the camera's going to focus on that, but yeah, there you go. So you can see here it's not very thick at all, and yet if I spin it round here, for example, there's a lot more meat there. So I've got a lot to take off on the front, and my fear is if I take any more off the back, it's going to weaken the wood to the point where I can't turn the front. So, and that's paramount, obviously. So I'm going to turn the front now, change my focus to the front. It's going to be a battle shield because there's just not enough meat on it to create a nice deep platter for the wall. So the glue, it's done its job, and it has stopped a lot of movement. There is a little bit of movement still there, but it's stopped the majority of it. So change everything around, start tackling the front, and come back to the back later. Wish me luck on this one. This is tricky. So the camera's back in my hand again, and we're currently turning the front of this battle shield. If you get caught by the lights in here, I am sorry, but you can start to see now the grain coming out in this piece. Just look at that grain. And as I go around, I'll spin it a little bit. Then you start to see the areas of, huge areas of rot there, look. Inclusion there, but look at that grain. Isn't it absolutely beautiful? It's you can see here, look, I haven't quite touched all of the rim there, look, with the chisel. Can you see? There's just that little bit left to go, so I've got to keep going. It is a bit jumpy, as you can see by the tool marks in it. But look at that grain. That rot, it carries right through. Look at all this rot in there. You can see where I've been spraying the glue earlier, but the whole of the centre is riddled with rot. I'll come out a bit and then you'll be able to see it a bit better. But this area, let me just let it spin to where it wants to go. The dense solid area here in this bottom section should hold all of the piece together. And I'm already thinking, bear with me, I'm dropping things as I go. Right, I'm already thinking that this will be its, let's just move all this out the way. This will be its final orientation. And then that bottom section there, look, if you can see that section there, that's solid wood. All of this area is rot that I will eventually have to pick out. All of it. So it's going to end up almost like a half moon. But it is going to be glorious if I can finish it without it coming off the lathe. But seriously though, folks, look at that grain. Just stunning. Right, stop waffling, crack on with it. This leading edge, I've got to where I want it now. It needs some sanding, but I've turned it right up until this point, as you can see. Before I go any further, we got to start talking about decoration. How are we going to decorate this shield? Now, I've got an idea for all this natural edging, and what rot I pick out will give me a really fantastic natural edge. But it needs a little bit more than that. It can't just be a plain disc of wood with a fancy natural edge. And I know it's got some beautiful grain in it, but there's got to be some decoration. So my line of thought at the moment is to use a skew chisel and skew in some channels and then carve some decoration in them. So there'll be bands, maybe 2, maybe 3 bands, and I'll ebonize those bands once I've carved them. Now, that may lead me to ebonize what rim there is to highlight the natural edge. I'm gonna put some brass or copper, I think, into this natural edge. I'm gonna really go to town on it. Not done a lot of the it's like a brass slip that you use. I've not done a lot of it. I've done a couple of pieces that have been successful. There's going to be so much natural edge on this, and the contrast between that brass or copper and the verdigris that I can put on it, and the black and the grain, I think is just going to make it sing really loudly. So that's what's in my head at the moment. As I say, I'm at that stage. I've got the outer rim done. I don't really want too much decoration close to the outer diameter, so I'm going to leave that undecorated. This kind of this area here, I'm going to leave that undecorated. This surface, I'm just going to sand that, and then on this lip, this turning lip that you can see, from there in, I think I'm going to have a series of bands of ebonized timber. It'll all be one piece. Obviously, I'll ebonize within the lines of the skew chisel cuts, and then carve a pattern in between those lines, as I said, and go from there. Now, I've obviously got to turn this area, but this is where I'm going to start to get very, very nervous, because, of course, it's held together by glue. It's a lot of rot in there. So this next stage really is probably going to be the worst for me, because I'd have done all this work, and this is really where it's probably going to bounce off, if it's going to. So it's still quite firmly held by the faceplate, so maybe that glue front and back is doing a proper job on it, and I'm going to get away with it. I don't know. We never do we? So let's see what happens. I'm going to start to take more of this out, and then as I come in, I'll get the skew and start marking where I want these channels to be that I'm going to carve into after the turning's finished. So let's crack on with that. Okay, I did a whoopsie. Forgot to turn the camera on, very sorry. Right, I've started on this, as you can see. So we're going to have a flat area there that I'm going to decorate. Then the next bit between the lines, that is, I'm going to do a concave in there. And then I'm just doing another flat area here. Hopefully you can see. So I've got a round nose scraper and I'm going to do that concave now. Right, so that's that done. So we're going to have decoration in this area, then a concave that's going to be bare wood, and then I'm going to do another little flat, I think, a slightly narrower one, and then maybe a third one towards the centre. But I'm going to carry on turning now. I'm going to have to stop the lathe, lower the tool rest again, and go in from with the bowl gauge from the side. So we're at that stage now where I think pretty much all the turning on the front has been done that I'm gonna do. I've got a band here, then a concave, and then another band. I haven't done a third, I've just left it at the two. And what I'm gonna do is get the carving chisels out, or maybe even the burrs on the Dremel, and put a decoration in that one and then a different decoration in that one. And eventually those two bands will be ebonized. Now, you remember I said there was a lot of rot in this, especially in the center. Well, as I'm turning it, some of it started to come loose. Now, thankfully, all that glue I put on has held a lot of it together, but a lot of it did come out. So if I move out the way, you can see, look at that. It's starting to come out. Right, so all of this area is rot. So I don't quite know how far I'm gonna have to take it, but I haven't turned the back yet. So I gotta crack on and finish turning the back, because I don't want any more of that to come out before I've finished turning, because already there are huge gaps that I'm gonna have to skip over. So I've got to work the speed up a little bit to be able to skip over those. I don't want any more holes. I really don't. I am going to struggle with this like this. So let's just unlock it so that you can see it fully. Just look at that. This is going to be absolutely amazing if I can get it finished. Now, as I said to you, the plan is ebonize these two rings and decorate them, bit of carving. They're going to be black. I'm going to ebonize what is the turned rim, and then all of the natural edging, all of whatever perimeter I get in there, whatever's left, all of that natural edging, I'm going to do either brass or bronze and try and get a verdigris reaction on it so that it comes up green as well. I think that's going to start singing then. It's going to look like one of those just dug up antiquities, which is the type of stuff I really, really like. So there is masses of work left to do on this. But for today, I'm going to turn the back. Wish me luck. Well, as you can see, we've resorted to being on the floor. So, whilst turning the back, I realised that there was just no chance of truing that up without it coming off. There was just so much rot in there. So, before it shot off the lathe, I've actually taken it off the lathe. All the front turning is done, and I've managed to create a step where I know it's flat this side, but it's not flat that side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to eke out all of the rot, and then I'm going to get my big Makita belt sander out and level this rough area as best I can with that belt sander. And that's pretty much all I can do really. It's just a shame I just couldn't quite finish the base of it via turning, but the rest of it's all been turned, so we should be all right. Now, there is an awful lot of dry rot in this, as I've been saying all the way through this video, and it is going to take me some time not only to clear that dry rot, but also to clear the gallons of adhesive sprayer glue that I put in all the cracks. It's everywhere, and it is doing a good job of holding as well, to be fair. So on I go with the chisels, the little sharpened owl,
and I may be some time. I think what we'll do is we'll call this part 1, shall we? And we'll do all the decoration and stuff in part 2. So keep your ears tuned, because part 2 will be coming up in the next few days. Cheers now.